All right, hey guys, we're up here and we are still in Georgia, believe it or not. We are up here at the normal Ford dealer, J.C. Lewis, that I'm always up at, but we have a full-blown snowstorm going on. I just drove up here and we're getting 4 inches of snow today, which is very rare for South Georgia, but that's what's happening. And what we're going to talk about today, we're going to be talking about is reliability or repairability, the new form of reliability. What does that mean? Is repairability the new form of reliability? That's what our question is. So how does that work? Well, we know that today, all trucks, every brand, everything we have, every manufacturer is putting out trucks that are not as good as they once were. We also know that the trucks today, when they do have a problem that we're waiting way too long for parts, and recalls and back ordered and things like that, and our trucks are sitting and they're down and we're in trouble and not getting them, not able to drive them. We have all these issues that we have to deal with trucks today that make it pretty miserable. So if that's the case, can we assume that a Ford EcoBoost that's been around for a long time and been a proven motor is going to be a good motor? It is going to work for us, that this truck's not going to give us any problems? No. Okay, we have all the active fuel management systems on all of them today. We have all the wet belt systems. We have all these things that we have to deal with. We have all these things that are a concern for us that say that we don't get the reliability out of them that we want to, even the new little Maverick here. And so if we're not getting the reliability from the manufacturer when we buy it, meaning we come in here, we pick this truck, we pick it up, we get it, we take it, we're excited, yeehaw, we expect it to be perfect, we paid $60,000 for it, and we want it to work, but it doesn't. So what does that leave us with? How do we get reliability today? Ford's got all kinds of motor problems. Chevy's got all kinds of motor and transmissions problems. Toyota's got all kinds of motor and transmissions problems. All of them have problems. How do we beat it? Well, what about repairability? What about that factor, repairability? Let's pause this till that ambulance goes by. So we got repairability. Repairability meaning that if they go down, can we fix them ourselves? Or if we have to buy parts for them, are parts cheaper? That's the thing we're getting at. If we can't get the reliability in the new tech and all that kind of stuff, is a new reliability form coming in the sense of repairability. For example on that, look at my Gladiator right here. If something breaks on this particular vehicle, and like a Wrangler, most of the stuff, sorry if I'm shaking a little bit, it's cold, but most of the stuff on this thing, if it's not available from factory, it's available through aftermarket. So let's say, for example, the clutch, how the clutch went out in the manual Gladiators, and people were getting mad and they were getting fed up, so they went out and they bought aftermarket clutches. Jeep even reimbursed them for those aftermarket clutches because Jeep couldn't come up with a solution for it in time. So Jeep reimbursed the people that actually chose to have an aftermarket clutch put in. Repairability. Anything that breaks on this thing can be repaired aftermarket, or it can be repaired by buying the parts, and the parts are readily available. That's what we're talking about. Is that the new form of reliability? Being able to get the parts, being able to put the parts on, and not having to deal with the BS that comes with everything else today. Look at the costs of stuff. Okay, look at the cost, because remember, reliability comes in the form of a vehicle lasting for a long time. That's reliability, lasting for the duration you own it. Most people today own a vehicle for over 8 years. Okay, that's what it says according to the numbers. So if they're going to own a vehicle for more than 8 years, then repairability comes into play. We look at it, and I'll show you some insights in here. Look at what it costs to replace a Tundra motor. When that Tundra recall hit, we were seeing these invoices, and I'm not going back through the forms to find this one, but you can find them on there. But $28,000, $30,000, those were the prices that people were paying to replace the motor, to do a short block replacement in their Tacomas through the dealership. $28,000 to $30,000. Let the reality of that sink in, to replace a motor. Now, a turbo to replace a turbo on a Tundra, $8,000. To replace a turbo on a Chevy pickup truck, $8,000. Okay, these are dealership quotes. I'm showing you insets of this stuff I find out on there. I want to say replacing a turbo on a 2.7, or not a turbo, replacing the entire motor on a 2.7, like you have in a Colorado and a Silverado, was something like $4,000. Replacing a motor on that Gladiator, the entire crate motor, 100%, is coming in at like $6,500, and you can also, they go on sale quite often, believe it or not, right from Mopar. You can get them for like 58. Okay, you can get a transmission for like $5,000 too. For 10 grand, you can replace the entire drivetrain, and it's not that hard to do. So you can see where the reliability through repairability becomes a factor. If you have an EcoBoost motor, or let's say this was a Toyota Tundra, and the motor blows on you and they're telling you it's going to cost you $28,000, or the turbo goes out and they're telling you it's going to be $8,000 to repair it, it's lost its value of reliability, and the cost factor gets astronomical. Okay, when you look at something that has, like when a turbo goes out on a Colorado, it's like a $600 part, and not that hard to do. Okay, and I'm just using those as examples because I know about them. I know about these vehicles. I own them. But the point we're getting at here is the days of buying reliability up front in a new vehicle is pretty much gone. How it happens now is you get that reliability through repairability. Being able to fix it, parts being available, parts being affordable, parts being easier to replace, kind of makes you think about possibly some of these i4 turbo motors actually being more reliable when you think about the repairability. When you look at the cost of the motor, you look at the fact that there's way less moving parts on a 4-cylinder turbo than there is on a V6 motor. And I got a video I'm going to do right after this on that one, so we're not going to go too far down that rabbit hole right now, but it is something to think about. We have hit the point today where we cannot buy reliable. We have to repair it to make it reliable. So when we want to do that, we want to look for vehicles that are going to be cost effective to repair, possibly simple to repair, rather than something that requires the cab to come off to work on. Not that the 150's that way, but there's vehicles out there that do, Tundra being one of them. Many times they pull the cab right off. Same with Cummins, with the diesels, the Ram 2500s, things like that. A lot of vehicles, they take the cab right off, Super Duties, and they pull them off to work on them. We don't get to do that at home. We can't do that kind of stuff. So you start taking into account what it costs to do wet belt changes and things like that today and all that kind of stuff. There's a factor of repairability that kind of is where the reliability sets. If you want any of these vehicles to literally make it for the duration today, with the way they are built, with the EPA rules, with the stupid government infringement into the way that motors work and how things are done, and how much stricter it's going to be over time in the future, especially when you start looking at diesels like that right there, and you start seeing what's coming for them in 2027, we start thinking about the fact that, many of us love the, a naturally aspirated V6 like in the Gladiator, like in the Frontier. Frontier obviously is amazing. I'm going to give a quick note on that. I keep saying all brands this, all brands that. Realistically, that is very true. But I'll tell you what, that Frontier, man, that Frontier just goes. I don't hear anybody have anything bad to say about the Frontier. Nitpicky stuff, but I don't ever hear of people having a problem with the Frontier. The Frontier and the Gladiator are the two trucks that just run and do good, and people are gonna be like, you lost me a Jeep. Well, you can lose, then I'm glad I lost you. No offense, if I lost you because you think Jeep is not reliable today in 2024, 2025, you know nothing about trucks. I'm sorry. Well, I had one in 1984 and it was a piece of crap, and I bought another one in 2012. It was a piece of crap. I don't care. This is 2024, 2025 now. And I'm telling you that when it comes to reliability and midsize, Frontier has it and the Jeep has it. Both of them are naturally aspirated, and the Gladiator for sure is very easy to work on, very easy to do, very simple, available, affordable parts. Okay, these are the things that make it kind of last. You got that advantage. So it's just something that's rolling around in my head and I've been thinking about. But if we want quality today and we want it to last a long time for our vehicles, we need to stop thinking about what can I buy that's reliable, start thinking about what can I keep running for the least amount of money that's going to be reliable. That's where the reliability comes in through the repairability of the vehicle. Let me know your thoughts below. How are you feeling? You agreeing? What are you thinking?